actually be moving forward towards the discussion with our industry experts, Mr. Pulkit Agrawal, the CEO and co-founder at Trell, Mr. Saugata Gupta from Marico, and Mr. Vivek Gupta, founder of Licious. This would be a very, very exciting and again a very interesting discussion on this space, moderated by Mr. Sridhar Sankararaman, the MD of Multiples Equity. So Sridhar, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mrigank, for a very holistic setting of context. And I'd like to welcome Vivek, who is the founder of Licious and a very dear friend now. We are investors in Licious. So I've got very special love for them. Pulkit, whom I've known for over a year now. Pulkit, welcome. And of course, Saugata, who's been a veteran in the industry, who's built such a commendable business and a business among FMCG companies who's known to be digitally first. So welcome all of you. Mrigank, if I were to just summarize in 3 bullets, the key takeaways from your session, and maybe for the listeners, 3 takeaways, I would say, number 1, the number of internet shoppers in India is likely to increase from 16 to 20 crores to about 65 crores in the next 10 years. So we're looking at a 3 to 4x growth in the number of shoppers. Number 2, online shopping for products, which is e-commerce, is likely to grow from 30, 40 crores to about 350 crores. And number 3, fashion, food, and grocery, and which includes FMCG and staples and food and so on, are likely to be the 2 category leaders in this new wave of e-commerce. And to talk about food, we have Vivek. To talk about fashion, we have Pulkit. And to talk about staples and FMCG, we've got Saugata. So we have a very appropriate panel to speak about the next wave of value creation in this industry. If I just take a step back, maybe 8-10 years ago, when e-commerce was just getting created in India, people said, you'll have all of 2 apps. Real estate on phone is expensive. It's either going to be Amazon or it's going to be Flipkart. And then we had kind of the first wave of e-commerce where people spoke about horizontals. The next wave, we had verticals getting created. Fashion, we had Myntra, we got something in pharmacy, we had Big Basket in food and so on. Then we had the third wave, which was kind of the sub-verticalization. So even within food, you had Licious, which was just meat. Even within fashion, you had new ways of buying fashion, which is players like Trell, and so on, right? So the next wave that we're speaking about is new ways to shop completely. Pulkit, online, live commerce, video commerce, and everything else that you are doing today seems to be some new way. And of course, there is quick commerce that's keeping all of us on our toes, quite literally. In this context, I had maybe the first round of questions for all of you. Maybe I'll go with you, Vivek, first. When you started Licious, did you imagine that most of your business will come from your own app? And today, as you stand in 2022, what's your imagination for the next 10 years?
Okay, so I should give a very honest answer. Thank you, Sridhar. For first few years where we were not even building our own tech, we had a very small app which was outsourced, and I remember many conversations and sitting in Big Basket's office because we wanted to sell our meat mostly on them, because there was even Amazon was not doing too much of grocery then. And we also were realizing that meat needs a very different supply chain, and we were also not very sure of consumer behavior when they buy meat. Okay, and 5 years now, long story short, I think as we went deep in the category, we realized that Indian consumers have always been taken granted, and they are not that money sensitive. If they get experience, they like to spend money, and they also don't like to club all their choices when they buy. Okay, so meat behavior in the offline industry was always existed separately than general trade and modern trade. People were not going to, so when they were buying grocery, they were not buying meat. They were actually driving all the way to butcher shops, or you would have heard in Delhi going to Aine market all the way, to buy high quality fishes. Same thing they adopted in online world. They wanted some expertise solution, and when Licious started providing that, with a proper cold chain, proper packaging, proper assortment, freshness promise, quality promise, consumers actually chose us over any other platform. And today, 5 years out, after building a reasonably large business, 90% of our business still comes on our own platform, while we are listed on Amazon, while we are on Swiggy, we are on Big Basket. So it is actually consumer's choice. So my sense is, even going forward in any other categories where consumers are looking for some slightly specialized experiences, they will choose to go to direct platforms and not just aggregators.
So basically, Vivek, you're saying because your product is kind of specialized and because it requires cold chain and because it has a large number of SKUs, there is a reason for, in terms of customer to use you as a channel and not just look at an aggregator, whereas aggregator can be a supplementary channel. And with the emergence of a new set of sort of quick commerce and so on, Vivek, do you see that changing in the next 10 years?
It will change, but not in all the categories, So quick commerce will only, in my view, as of now, it feels like it will only be existing in categories which are quick. I need a dhania, I need a cigarette, not for your core categories where you need 200
plant purchases
of meat, right? So for example, if one quick commerce company has 100 dark stores in Bangalore, I'm just putting, okay, for that to 10 minutes delivery, you need to have that kind of setup. In 100 dark stores, 200 SKUs of meat in fresh shelf life of 24 hours is just not possible. Okay, so that is an unviable business. So in my view, that is how we have to match that, whether that category can go in a quick commerce or not. And consumer behavior will only be for that one thing which they missed buying in the larger shopping, which will exist in quick commerce for some time until I get proven wrong.
Understood, Vivek. So moving to you, Pulkit. There are many versions of social commerce that have worked in China. But the cut, copy, paste of those models have not worked in India as is, right? We have seen that in case of deal share, sort of in bulk buying has not been the same way. And, in terms of business had to be tweaked to Indian realities. Meesho had to tweak their classic reseller model to Indian realities. What are your learnings from the behavior of an Indian customer on video commerce? What's working in India and what's not working in India?
Sure. First of all, thanks a lot, Sridhar, for kind of, sharing a great overview about what's happening in India. I think it is exciting times when, people are kind of emerging online thanks to a lot of internet penetration and, also testing out various models, right? Because of which this growth is happening. Now, coming to the question which you mentioned, I think, if you think about the two geographies, right, China versus India, they're fundamentally very different, right? China is a very homogeneous country in the form of the languages they speak, and hence, because of the culture they kind of are involved into, and hence the kind of needs, that the consumers have across geographies, right? Whereas if you kind of think about India, we are like, 29 different kind of, countries packed together in a way, right? Every 100 kilometers, we have language which changes, the needs of people changes, right? And what we consume changes. And this is where essentially, if you think about the future of India, right, it's pretty much going to be based around community, according to us, right? Wherein if you have the community heroes who are educating the next, 200 or 300 million shoppers which are coming online about various kind of products and services that are available, right? And building trust in them that, okay, you know what, this is how you use it, or let's say these are the benefits or these are not so great benefits of a certain service. It just helps them in making decisions much better today, which is not happening in the internet 1.0 generation, right? Till now, internet has been largely English. There hasn't been, a leeway wherein most of the Indians who are coming in regional languages being able to get aware from that content or those kind of creators. And hence we see that, the game in India would pan out very differently, right? Because you would need a lot of educators, you would need a lot of influencers to, kind of make people aware about it and hence, transact. So that is one thing which we believe is going to be fundamentally different. And hence, the kind of live commerce or even video commerce that is going to work in the country is going to be fundamentally different, right? It is not going to be something which is exactly similar to what has happened in China. And I think in a country like India, it is a fundamental need. You need content to get aware about what you need to buy, right? Which was not the case, in some of these geographies. Second thing, I believe, China, because of, let's say most of their population concentrated around certain, mega cities that they have built, right? They had a great infrastructure and access to a lot of these things already, right? And hence most of the commerce online or be it offline used to happen in those kind of cities. Whereas India is a very fragmented, kind of a market, right? More than 80% or 90% of the retail that we keep talking about, be it offline, etc., is all fragmented around the country. It's not concentrated to just, some of the top 5 or top 10 mega cities. And this is where essentially the platforms and the kind of network that is required to fulfill the needs of these users would be different, right? And you need to kind of build that kind of an infrastructure and that kind of a...
So what you're saying, Pulkit, is India will see emergence of many sub-communities as opposed to one large community in China. And each of those communities would be influenced by different set of preferences and different set of influencers.
Absolutely.
So you have an opportunity to build several of these separately within one holistic platform. That's what you're saying, which is
correct. And I think the next set of growth that is going to come in the e-commerce is going to come from that market, right? Because let's say, the English market is already to a bit saturated. Definitely they will move towards premiumization, but the real growth is going to come from that market.
Understood. Thanks, Pulkit. Saugata, I have a lot of respect for what you have built. So thanks for joining us this afternoon. You were one of the, I still recall, 5 years ago, you were one of the first FMCG companies in India to say that we'll incubate and create D2C brands in India. And, you've invested in Beardo and, more recently in Just Herbs and so on. So, what's the DNA, change that you see that your teams that are working on these new age brands versus your traditional FMCG team's DNA? And do you see it's indeed possible for a very large company like yours to indeed create these interesting, sort of engines inside this behemoth?
Yeah, so I think the first thing we realized that, we need to have what I call an engine 2 or a different model for operation. Okay. And if you really look at it, if you look at the core of a FMCG company, it is about a repeatable model of growth with power brands, high scale, high efficiency, high distribution. D2C brands require a completely different mindset. And therefore, whether it's high velocity innovation, it's a far more test and run kind of a mindset, huge emphasis on digital marketing, performance marketing, huge appetite for failure. When we rationalize SKUs, the tail is their core, and that's how we operate. And therefore, you need completely 2 different business models. And therefore, what we have done consciously, we tried an hybrid because see, everybody wants to join our DTC or our new digital business. But I think there are 2 different mindsets. You can't be saying that I will have the cushion of a large company, but you pay me performance pay. So I think whether it's people mindset, the approach to processes, systems, and the third thing, even the kind of people. I mean, one of the things we have done is, when we did Beardo, the 2 things we did, of course, we had the founder on an earn-out model. We didn't take away, we kept and even after 100% acquisition, we have kept the thing away from us. It's in Ahmedabad. We refrain, of course, thanks to COVID, it has helped. Not many MBAs have landed in Beardo out there. So we keep a completely different set of people, a different set of processes, talent, everything different. And whenever we have tried to migrate, and we have seen this, and a lot of people who have tried to migrate from Marico, other than the CEO, I think a lot of people have struggled there. And therefore, I think it's very, very important to realize that these 2 businesses and business models are completely different. Having said that, I think there's a lot of learning happening, whether it's the high-speed velocity of innovation, agile way of working, which is now percolating back into the mothership. And therefore, to give you an example, I think I keep saying this example to everybody that we should have launched onion oil. It took us 2 years to launch that onion oil, which Mama did. It's a different matter we are doing now very well. And our ability to therefore transcend from a e-commerce to a modern trade or a GT with that same format is, I think, going to be easier perhaps. But I think this onion oil, or you will see a lot of DT, we have now started organically brands like Pure Sense. We have a brand called Coco Soul. We have a brand called Fitify. I think this experimentation has started, and it won't have happened if we not used Beardo as a learning thing. And the second thing I think we are trying to do is we are having some discrete 5, 6, 7 different brands, 7 different units, but we are now going to start harnessing the 1P data, which we haven't done. As you know, FMCG, we never talk to the consumers. We talk to distributors, we talk to retailers, but I think this is the first thing. Of course, it's a very brave effort, but I believe that's the first thing we can now start talking and harnessing 1P data, not for ROI, but for much more consumer connect and far better innovation and other things.
So, Saugata, I'm going to remember this for a long time, what you said. Sort of your tail is actually the core for it does have the D2C brands. Maybe a quick face-off on this between Pulkit and you, Saugata. Pulkit believes that he can create a long tail of brands, and he's doing that both in beauty and in fashion. And let's just stay with beauty. And you spent a lifetime upgrading kind of in Parachute Advanced, Parachute, a bunch of other upgradations, and you said, let me go the premiumization way. Whereas Pulkit is saying, my customer does not necessarily care for the brand. I can influence that, so that customer to choose the brand on my platform. So how should we as investors think about where is really value? Is in terms of premiumization story over? And are we now thinking about India B? Because that's where the next big market is.
Pulkit,
you want to go first?
Sorry.
Okay. Go ahead, Saugata. Go ahead.
No, please, Pulkit, please.
Sure. So I think, there is a market for both, the kind of brands is what I see generally, right? When you kind of talk about premiumization, it could lead to better cash flows, but probably, slower growth, right? And when you kind of think about, let's say, the upcoming brands, right? For a diverse country like India, this is where the massive growth would come from, right? So I believe that both of them will have some sort of a market. And at the same time, I think fundamentally, right, the kind of influencer-led commerce is required for both the kind of brands, right? For example, the legacy brands would be able to penetrate into some of the regions wherein they do not have that much presence, right? In terms of the mind share of the customer, because mind share of the customer comes from some sort of advertisement or some sort of, kind of narratives that they paint using the traditional media, right? Now, this is a social media in a way. Right? And when you kind of think about the new brands, how do brands emerge? Brands emerge on the trust of either celebrities or narratives which are spoken on the media, right? And the new age social platforms have the ability to be able to portray those narratives for these upcoming brands as long as they appeal with the audience in those micro communities. So I believe that there's a immense potential in both of them, but the kind of potential is very different.
What do you think, Saugata?
I think it's an and. I strongly believe that, I think if you look at it, there are distinctly two different sets of categories. One, there is a huge story that is happening in rural India and even small towns of unbranded to branded or small brands to large brands because people are aspirational. At the end of the day, if you look at whether it's FMCG, telecom, airlines, India is all about availability and affordability. And I think that is what has driven telecom, what has driven airlines. Of course, it's a different matter. Of course, there are issues in terms of cash flows in this, which has nothing to do with the consumer set, I think. So similarly, I think that as long as there's affordability and availability, having said that, I think in our sector, there are two distinct things. If you look at personal care where penetration of categories are higher, I think it's important that premiumization is a key driver. Food is one space. I think there is, significantly huge scope for opportunity of, unbranded to branded and packaged thing. The second thing, if you look at it in a lot of emerging markets in Asia, retention of longevity of brands, retention rates or loyalty factor of power brands are high. Having said that, I think two things power brands should do. One, continuously innovate. And number two is, I think, not be greedy to make supernormal profits, because these are the only two reasons a power brand can get disrupted. If you continuously innovate and ensure that you drive value and don't treat a power brand as a cash cow, it's likely that they have a system advantage in India. Now, coming to the last thing, I think, e-commerce, I think, is also, I think it's important for companies like us to use, whether it's, all kinds of e-commerce as a multiplier and not a cannibalistic channel. And therefore, I think it has a role to play, whether if you're it can be a multiplier of distribution, it can be a multiplier for a challenger brand, or it can be a vehicle for premiumization. But the problem that is happening today, and I think that is the reason why all these issues are a lot of issues are happening in the FMCG space, is that I think a lot of people, a lot of manufacturers tend to use these channels as a quick multiplier of sales in a cannibalistic way, which is not the role for, I think, these channels.
So basically, sort of Saugata, what you're saying is, if you are a big brand owner, don't sit on your laurels. You need to constantly innovate. Otherwise, there'll be new companies who will just move away your cheese before you even realize. And Pulkit, what you are saying is that there is a very large market out there where brands can be created with influencers. And therefore, there is a possibility to challenge the legacy brands. Vivek, given that this topic is on channel, and this omni-channel is a much abused word, tell me, in your experience, in what kind of categories does an omni-channel work, and in what kind of categories it's not required to have this, Saugata's bread and butter, which is omni-channel, which is this traditional channel rather.
I think on the off the bat, my answer is it is very hard to build a direct to consumer channel, because cost of customer acquisition for any single category is always going to be high. And when you go through scale journey, it is not going to become cheaper with scale. It is going to be tougher and tougher. But there are categories, okay, let's say, for example, in the meat category, the way we look at, our repeat customer comes at least 3 times in the month to buy again and again from us. And our ARPUs from the same customer is very, very high. Okay. And we have also seen in last few years of our journey that large part of our customer becomes sticky and stays with us for years and years, right? So basically my 5 years retention and my 2 year retention is same. Okay, so once a customer becomes sticky, he just stays on the brand. There, if you ask me, Sridhar, some of those things, CACs and marketing spends can be justified. But if you are in a category which is not of very high repeat, which is not of a very, high engagement, etc. Okay, and there the pain point is lesser. See, in the meat, the pain point is also much, much higher, right? What choices consumer has? Consumer has a bloody wet market. Okay, anyway, modern trade and general trade have never solved this problem. Choices are not there, etc., etc. So there's a big value which customer drives when he comes to a platform like us, right? So, and let's say a channel, aggregation channel, let's say Big Basket or Swiggy, etc., can't even offer the kind of expertise we offer. So in those businesses, D2C is a good thing to do. Otherwise, I think it is better to build businesses on Amazons and Flipkarts of the world, because you will never be able to justify marketing cost.
And offline, Vivek?
See, offline, again, in our category is also hard. See, when you end up opening a shop, okay, and with 200 SKUs, which has 24 to 36 hours of shelf life, okay, you are now dependent on walk-ins, okay, in that shop to make that, sales throughput justify, which is, in my view, is a very, very hard problem to crack. Some of the businesses like us may use offline channel as a mixed channel for brand building, where customers can get onboarded through some of those channels, but in the long term, they have to settle with online. Otherwise, that will not be a model which will, change the fortune of companies like us. It is a hard one, Sridhar.
So given that the channels are shifting, sort of from, sort of in horizontal to vertical to subvertical and back to into some kind of horizontal offline and, sort of in specialized verticals, Saugata, are your advertising spends on these channels also changing? So, will we see in terms of a Marico ad in, in one of these short video apps, will we see, Marico being, sort of much more prominent in the digital world?
So I think we have divided our entire portfolio into 3. One is digital first brands, primary digital brands, and mass brands. Okay. And our overall spends in digital actually are now 20% plus. But I think digital first brands, 100% is digital. There are brands which are spending today 40 to 50% in digital. So yes, I think we are willing to experiment. And I think there's a carte blanche, in the sense to the entire team that you experiment. It's okay to learn. And I think it's important that having said that, I think we have started trying to model or playbooks in terms of ACOS or ROAS or unit economics. We try to do it, and I think we are improving. I think it's not, I won't claim we are the best in class at all, but I think we are now at least setting standards to do it, but we are willing to experiment. And I see maybe 5 years from now, the overall digital spends could be as high as 30% plus.
Got it. Maybe we should now move to our last segment, which is in terms of the rapid fire questions I have for all of you. And maybe Vivek is giving me a big smile.
This is Sridhar's favorite.
This is Sridhar's favorite. Yes, that's correct. So, Saugata, we'll start with you. What is your biggest fear?
I think biggest fear is always not participating in the growth. I mean, if you look at we have a set of premium brands which have grown, as I said, under our nose, and I have a 5% share in that premium space. So I think I will not let that happen again. So,
Vivek?
Yeah, we are here to build something what Amul has done in milk category. Okay, so we are here for very, very long term. The day this passion building Licious becomes a business for me, I really dread that day.
Okay, Pulkit?
I think innovating for the consumers, the behaviors are changing so fast that, you have to keep up with the innovation and serving them well. So I think what keeps us going is, or fear, for a matter of fact, if we stop innovating, right? Internet is brutal that way.
Got it. And okay, the next question, what is the one consumer insight that you had? All of you are in consumer facing businesses that has surprised you, completely surprised you. Saugata?
Well, I learned it in food. In India, nobody is going to compromise on taste for health. Not even 1%. Huh? So designing a healthy product therefore becomes very difficult.
Got it. Vivek?
Every time we speak to our consumers, I realize they have more passion in meat than actually we have. So, for the categories,
so it's a fairly involved category.
Yeah, they just go, so sensorial talking about meat. That just surprises me so much.
Pulkit?
Yeah, I think there was a category on our platform called men's grooming, right? Wherein we used to expect that most of the men are going to order the men's grooming product. But on a contrary, we saw a lot of females kind of ordering those, men's grooming product. And when we spoke to those users, we understood for a matter of fact that actual purchases that happen in the households are done by the females for their partners. And hence, the real buyers for the men's grooming are not men, but females predominantly, which is going to grow. I think that was a fascinating insight just to learn about how Indian, consumer household mindset works.
And
yeah, you are right.
I was just going to ask you, Saugata, if you actually knew this as well.
Yeah.
One last question. I can see the RedSeer team.
I have a hard stop actually. I have to get into another 2:00 call. So
sure. So we'll just quickly wind this up, Ms. Saugata. Just one word or just one prediction on 2030 e-commerce in India.
I think it will be sizable, but I think it's exciting. I can say it's going to be more exciting and challenging.
Vivek?
It will be bigger than all of our numbers which RedSeer showed.
Pulkit?
I think it is going to be massive and it is going to become an irreversible change going forward. Everybody is going to move there.
Got it. Super. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think I enjoyed this, and I'm sure I can see about 300 people on this call. I'm sure all of them had a good time as well. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thanks, Pulkit.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.